I'll make sure to record this as well so I can put it on so I can put it on YouTube afterwards, make sure to get it out so people who weren't able to make it can see it. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, nothing long today. I didn't want to be taking up too much of your time. I just wanted to review and sort of give a reminder that no matter what our bias is, to make sure that we, at least if you're trading the large cap stocks, make sure you come into the day with a plan, and that you execute your plan and really, oops, people are waiting, and that you really create a plan for everything, some different situations that could happen in the market, right? For me today, the market, I came into the day with some bullish, mostly bullish expectations. And most of my plans were for trades to the upside, which didn't necessarily feel great, because all of the indexes that I'm reviewing now, none of them looked like spectacular. And they all ended up being relatively weak today. See, the NASDAQ got a pop there and then faded for the rest of the day. The Dow Jones, though I am of the four major indexes, was really the only one that looked strong. Um, and that actually didn't even end up correlating to the trade that I tried to make off this, which was Disney is a member of the Dow. So I was looking for longs in Disney, thinking it would follow along with some of that Dow strength, and it didn't. But what I missed today is Tesla. And I just wanted to review this trade and review it live so that if people had questions, they could ask me about the questions live. But Tesla was a pretty straightforward trade. And what we won't do is get into the nitty gritty specifics of how I got the levels and all that. If you're curious how I got the levels, those are in the options course that I think most of you guys are lifetime members that you'll have. But regardless, the trade was simple today, and it was Tesla gapped down pre-market, right? And with its gap down pre-market, that was showing us some weakness. I think it might have also had some bad news, something along those lines. But however you get your levels, I came into the day with 705.62 as my level. You can see where I got that on the hourly chart, but that was going to be what I was going to be watching in general on Tesla. Now, because I thought the market was bullish, I was looking mainly for longs, so I wasn't really paying attention to Tesla at all, which is fine, right? If I'm bullish, I'm going to be focused more on long names, not short. So at the end of the day, I'm not upset that, like, super upset that I missed this Tesla short at the open, but I am a little bit bummed that I missed it intraday, especially when we look at, in case for those of you who aren't familiar, Tesla is a technology name and they're in the NASDAQ. So following these two indices together, or following this name with this index, can be really, really helpful. But I initially was looking for longs on the indexes, right? We talked about that already. And the market started off as bullish and then faded pretty hard. But within that, Tesla gapped under this support level, and it never even went up to really aggressively test it, right? It once we broke this level, we saw some like 15-point sell side, and that ended up going down to like 15 or 20 points. So the reason I want to talk about this is there are a couple of nuances in this trade that I should have had in my plan for the morning, and then I should have done a better job at making sure that I followed them, right? And so if you have a support level or a line in the sand for the day, right, whether it's a support level, whether it's a resistance level, whatever the case may be, how we open around that level, whether we open above or below it, is actually an important factor, right? And so in this case, Tesla, this little sell off right before the bell and opening underneath this level was actually a clue to us that shorts were going to be the primary thing to watch on Tesla for the day, right? So we opened underneath the support level. Same way, if we opened above a resistance level, we'd be looking more for longs in that name, right? Next, you can see that Tesla opened right here. So the open of the day, we can see from my little label right there on the left, is that it's 703.80-ish, right? So I'm going to be a little bit off, but let's just pretend that was 703.80, right? So we come back, and if you guys know me at all, you know that the opening price is a really big part of how I trade. So this came back up to test the opening price or come towards that region, and it failed, right? Now, at the time, we don't necessarily have all of this data to know that it's going to fail and sell off really hard. But if we use all of the other information that we had at the time, which would be that we opened up and gapped beneath our support level, right? We were weak relative to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq was strong and pushing up towards new highs, while Tesla couldn't even get its opening price, right? Along with the fact that it was the weakest name we were looking at pre-market in our top short watch, right? Now, again, I've already mentioned why I wasn't watching for shorts across the broad market, and that's fine. But once the market started to get a little bit of a fade intraday, and the other key to this was one of the other four indexes, the Russell, was weak as well throughout from the open. So there was clues all across the board that we weren't going to have a strong trending day overall in the market. So I should have kept my eyes on Tesla for sure. And really, what this high acted as was it served as a lower high that would have given us a lower high in a failed test of the open that would have given us a reference point that we could have taken a short against, right? We could have taken a short somewhere after, and in this level, we could have used the 15-minute chart as some confirmation, right? But really, what this does is it gives us a risk reward of a decent short, right? And we have an hourly level right there, and we have the opening price also as resistance above. So we have a stop loss. We have a reference point that we can use that says, hey, if we break above here, it's time to admit we were wrong and get out of the trade, right? But we didn't really have, in this particular case, that your stop loss wouldn't have triggered, right? So this would have been a trade that worked out. Really, what the point of this all, because I know it can seem kind of all over the place in mumbo jumbo-y, is that when something opens up beneath the support level that you have marked out, you really want to watch it for potential downside moves, or if you're watching it for longs to try and get long, you want to don't be tempted by all this noise down here of potential reversal, because we haven't done anything until we get back above the opening price and back above the support level that we're watching, right? Or the pivot level, whether it's a support or now it's a resistance, right? Uh, uh, so even though this stuff looks bullish down here and it looks like a great long, and again, especially if you don't have the rest of the data there to know what's going to happen, a lot of people are probably thinking, and people who haven't been with us for a while, and oh, why aren't we in Tesla longs down here? This looks like a good long. We can get back above the overnight day. Right. Well, there's all these different boxes that Tesla's not checking for us where we're not interested in longs right now, right? Um, we're interested in shorts until we get back above the open. And we ended up seeing this short kind of trigger here and end up playing out for a really nice move. So that was all I had. I just wanted to sort of review some of the price action of this chart and some of the rules and criteria that we look for within our trades, right? Being above the levels that we're looking at, being above or below the opening price, depending on whether we're long or short. And then really for those of you who aren't options guys, which I know there's a bunch of you that I see in here that I've never seen in the options room. That's fine. The stuff that I do is not limited to options. All right. All the price action stuff I talk about is very, very similar to the stuff that you all are looking at with your day trades, right? If I look at the pre-market watch list that Andrew sent out, right? BTX is one of the, let's look at, what is this? MAACW. That was the top watch. MAACW. Right. So if you use the same principles that I use, we barely got above the opening price here at 1.4, right? We got above very briefly, but not necessarily enough to really trigger along, right? So just because I'm trading options doesn't mean that the principles of the stuff that I look at doesn't work for you, right? Let's do AIH, another one from the list. AIH, opening price 8.25, and we spent all of about 1 5-minute candle above there, right? So you could have potentially looked to bot a reversal, especially when I know some of you are using different strategies with your EMAs and your MACDs. If your signals and your strategies give you potential entries, don't ignore them, right? But for me and for my strategy, one of the rules for me is I want longs generally above the opening price, unless I'm trying to buy a dip, or unless it's a counter trend trade, which I usually announce that it's a counter trend trade. And the last one we'll look at is BTX. This one, a little bit of a shake above the open, but you can see we rejected twice, right? The opening print. I don't know what levels you guys were watching at as resistance, but you can see that we had this opening print turned out to be resistance twice, right? And then once we broke through that near the end of the day, we ended up getting a little bit of a move. So um, the opening price for the day is the life hack or the market hack that the market gods give everybody. Yet for some reason, only like 5% of the world uses it. So um, use it, right? Use the opening print as a level that you're going to be watching and paying attention for. Because I just pulled the first three names off the list that the day traders, the penny stock day traders are trading today, and all three of them, the open. Let's pull the fourth one off just for shits and gigs, right? There we go. One that traded and held above its open all day. And you see this one ended up trending up all day long, right? I'm not saying that you have bought it at the open and hold it from there. Obviously, with penny stocks, that's not what you do. But the level Wolf was looking at was 9. So a break over 9, which is right where we opened it. So this would have been a tough trade to get an entry on. I understand if you missed this one, but you see my point, right? Everything that I just talked about for option stuff before this opening, the opening price and opening above or below levels is exact. I just pulled the top 4 penny stocks that the day traders were watching. It was all applicable, right? So my point is that learn price action, start to understand some of the basics, start to understand some of the principles and the rules and the system that we use, and some of the system and the rules that we use, and then you'll be able to understand more what you're trading rather than just throwing a dart at a dartboard and hoping you're happy, right? So hopefully this little lesson was helpful. Again, I see a lot of the names I see in here. I don't recognize a bunch of you from the options room, which encourages me. It makes me excited because now you all should know that I kind of know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not just a crazy mumbo jumbo guy. So if you want to learn options or trade large caps, or if you just want to learn more about individual names, let me know, and we'll talk about some of the price action stuff and strategies that I use. All right. So with that being said, I hopefully this was helpful for you all. I will post this to YouTube, and yeah. All right. Cheers, everybody.